and I will give the word over to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Bita, and good morning, everybody. So today we're going to talk about business center applications across the globe. So the objective will be just that we give you a couple of ideas and thoughts how users from different regions across the globe, and also here, since this is European time zone, about how European contractors and customers are utilizing Business Center for different applications. So this is going to be a very high-level overview about the capabilities. And so if you see that there's any application that you think could be interesting for you or you want to learn more about, please contact us at the end. We will show you the email addresses of us. And yeah, just contact us or the Trimble dealer that you're working along with. So today we're going to give you a quick introduction of the team. I want to talk as an intro a bit of the issues that we often see that contractors or users face in the field. And then we're going into Trimble Business Center and the application, as well as some major events this year. Bauma is coming soon. So if you have questions, please enter them in the Q&A box, and we are going to answer those questions at the end. So just that you get some idea of who the team is behind, Bita, who has just done the presentation, our marketing specialist in Gothenburg in Sweden. Myself, Stefan Agirio, software sales. I'm based out of Munich, Germany, and along with my colleague Dan Hamilton, based in Wales. Us two, we are basically looking for SciTech and the software sales in Europe, Middle East, Africa. So if there's any questions in general, please let us know. Dan, originally from New Zealand, I think you can see this. He's not wearing a shirt, but more a t-shirt. Those guys are more laid back. And of course, you, the users. So thank a lot for joining. And I think most of you have seen this webinar through the Trimble newsfeed in version 5 Business Center. So it's really good and positive to see that all of you are using, or the majority is using version 5 of Business Center. So good that you're using that. So just a quick overview. Trimble is growing a lot. I remember when I started back 2012, we were around 4,000 employees. Now we are more than 11,000 employees, and we're having a higher and higher focus on software solutions, and also in the European areas. We've done a lot of acquisitions and got new companies in our portfolio, like Trimble NovaPoint for designing. We have Telos for scheduling. So we're getting a bigger focus on software. And also the software revenue that we're doing is growing steadily. So this is really positive to see that we have a focus on research and development in Europe, also in terms of Business Center and applications that we're going to put into the software. So for the construction ecosystem, just a quick overview. Nowadays, we're offering solutions, I would say, from the concept or idea of building something down to the demolition. So we have everything from concept and design, schedule, project management, and of course, along the execution phase, machine control, surveying systems. We have software solutions, and we have solutions for maintenance and operation of projects or buildings. And of course, what is becoming very important in terms of building information modeling is a collaboration platform in the middle that is translating between different software solutions. So of course, we're connecting all the Trimble solutions into our cloud platforms, as well as third-party vendors, because we're getting very open nowadays. We have a lot of interfaces, and that's of course important for you as user to have a intelligent platform that can do translations, I would say, of different formats. And today we're going to focus on the execution phase for contractors, for surveyors, for different teams along construction projects. So what I've done here and what I always like to show is the trend of technology. And as you can see, I've just put in here the first Trimble innovations from 1947, and the number of innovations was growing very, very rapidly during the last few decades. That's especially digital solutions, digital innovations, a lot in software. And I just heard at a recent seminar that 40% of the contractors won't exist anymore in the next 5 years due to the high increase of technology. So it's very important to keep track on that technology curve. And I think you do, since you're using Business Center version 5 already, you're ready for BIM. I call it BIM ready because you can do IFC models, you can translate design and edit designs. And so you belong to the 60% probably that will have a nice future. And if you think back just a few years, I always like to show that picture here, yak-mounted Trimble GPS receiver, and that was the base camp of the Mount Everest. So there was still very heavy equipment, a lot of manpower behind to carry the equipment up the Mount Everest to measure the actual elevation the first time of the Mount Everest. And if you look now, just a couple of years later, let's say it like that, we just have drones or satellites, and we can get highly accurate elevations and positions of that object. So that's just to see how fast the technology is evolving nowadays. So some hassles or issues that we often face, especially in the construction phase, of course, is progress. So I think I haven't talked to any users that have a linear progress like this over the time. So it's the same if I imagine going into my car, driving from Munich to Berlin, telling me it's 450 kilometers. I start the engine, I start driving, and then what happens? I have traffic jams, I have accidents, and what it ends up with is something like this. And that's also something we often see in construction. And what we think is like if you utilize technology, software and connected site solutions, like for example in driving, if you use Google Maps, you know exactly where's traffic jams, what is the best route to take. Everybody is connected in the process, so you can improve the processes and the progress. It's not going to get 100% linear, but I think you're in a really good way to increase the productivity on site. And that's leading to the everyday issue that we have and that we want to offer solutions with Business Center and other connected site solutions, if of course, interpretation of design data. So very often we get bad design data, I would say, or 2D data or paper plans that we need to translate into 3D data. And then of course also how to deliver those designs into the real world. So I think many are using surveying technology or machine control. So that's helping us to deliver those designs into the real world. Machine utilizations, are machines idling or they're working? And then what is the progress? Because how can I avoid a traffic accident if I don't know where I am at the moment? So this is also something important. What's going on site? What's the progress and how can I speed it up? At the end, we need to make sure the quality. For example, for compaction, we have solutions to monitor the compaction, the passes, etc., to really have as-built data and quality assurance at the end. And I think another issue that we often face in the field is finding qualified staff. And Trimble is developing a lot of nice new tools like Trimble Site Vision. If you look it up on YouTube in terms of mixed reality, I think those kind of technologies can also help you to find more people because technology or high tech in the companies is really helping to catch new people, younger people. And those are the issues that we see are the major issues in the field today. And with Business Center, we want to show you today how we can get better, let's say, on some of those topics. So Business Center is actually a software that supports you across the whole construction stage of a project. It's not just a CAD software, but we want to have everything from the bidding phase to the documentation and as-built to support your workflows. So just a brief overview about the features. You can do takeoff calculations, estimating, you can do 3D data prep, you can do mass haul optimization, of course, the whole topic about reporting and billing. Of course, the job owner, they don't just want to pay you because they trust you. They might want to see some volume models or triangles or certain reports about quantities and volumes. Then, of course, the whole geodetic calculations, transformations, processing, SX10 data, whatever else, and construct, edit, improve. That's also a big topic that we're going to talk about today. And last but not least, the whole topic about scanning, photogrammetry, processing of drone data, and point clouds. So I'm going to jump through different applications. I'm going to switch between the PowerPoint and Business Center. So one topic is, of course, we are BIM ready. So that means today, if you get IFC formats, we can import them into Business Center. So that's one example here of a bridge that I got through IFC, as well as a road. Also with the road marking, with the road signs, you can see everything here in Business Center, and it's quite easy. You just create surfaces or objects out of that, and then you can export that to the field directly, either via the connected site solutions to transfer the data wirelessly to the field, or any other way that you're doing this. But it's very easy to get IFC files out of Business Center. But unfortunately, everybody is talking about Industry 5.0 or building information modeling. But an issue that we still face, or many customers still face, is converting bad data into good data. So that's, for example, if you get a PDF file, how to set this PDF file or convert this PDF file so you have constructible data or a constructible model that you can use for the field. And one way would be to digitize that PDF in Business Center. You can georeference it, you can digitize it, and then you can create the 3D design out of that. And I want to demo that here with a 2D DWG file. So I have my 2D file here that I can just drag and drop into the software. It's importing the file. So now if you want to get a nice view of where we are, we have this background map. So if you have a Trimble Connect license, you can enter your credential in Business Center, and then you can enable a background map, which is pretty nice for getting an orientation or idea of where the project is located. So what we want to do here is what we see is we have a couple of contour lines. We have buildings and we have spots. But how do we see whether this is a 3D project or not? So for example, I could say everything that is not 3D, show me in gray. And I see here that this is all not 3D. And the question is now, how can I convert this data into 3D data? And of course, I could go into the line properties here to set this line on an elevation of 93 meters. But we have this very nice data prep function here where I can, for example, select all my lines that have an elevation or text with elevation, and I can apply it, and it's telling me I have 6 contour lines now elevated. And the one in between, normally you could also manually interpolate those values, but there's a really nice tool if you want to elevate them by crossing. You just go through the model and it is elevating all of the objects to 3D. And of course, the tool is helping a lot, but you should always do some confirmation if everything is all right. So let's see if that line, which should be 93.10 meters, if I go into the properties, yes, it's showing 93.1 meters. So this is okay, this is all set. And the same with, very often we get 2D plans where there's just text elements, like here, 92.987 meters. And you can see it doesn't have an elevation, but it's just the text in here. So we have a tool to create points out of spot elevations. So you can say whether that's a CAD object, a block with a circle next to it, or a cross, or if you just take the text insertion point for that example, we select all the objects, apply it, and it's telling me 9 points were created that you also see in the Project Explorer now. The same we can do with closed lines where there's text inside. So, but what I want to do now is we actually have all the control lines. We could have a brief look in 3D. So now we see we really have 3D lines, and at the end we can create a surface out of that. Let's call it design. And now we have the design ready that we can send to machines. And I think that's a nice example on how easy it is to convert 2D data into 3D data. I want to show you another example with a PDF file. So there I have a plan. That I'm going to import. So now you see that picture. We can either georeference it. You see the coordinate markings here, or in that example, we're just gonna put it locally with a distance of 100 meters that you can see between the pixels here. And I have a bearing. I have this compass rose. And of course, if you georeference it, it will become much more accurate and at the right position. But just for demo purposes, I think that's enough. So now we have the PDF here, but you can see there's no objects yet. So which will then provide you with an Excel sheet with all the details and documentation. And the nice thing here is, like, because often customers get the design, they go out to the field, and then of course the manhole doesn't fit as it was designed. So if you change a node here for the manhole, for example, it will update the whole utility network. So it's not like that you need to manually adjust the whole Excel report or the whole network, but if you do one change here, it will update the entire model. So it's very nice object-based with modeling those utilities in Business Center. So having more utilities coming over to another linear object or project, which is mass hauling. So in here we do see a plan view of Business Center, and what we have is, you see different cut fill areas, blue and red. So that's showing us the cut fill quantities in Business Center. So, but what is the problem today that we face, or even in the future, with having BIM models and proper 3D models? Yes, we have cut fill. We know where we would need to move material, but we don't know our haul roads, meaning where do I get the material from, or where can I remove the material to what landfill site do I move material. So in Business Center, we have a module, a mass haul module, where you can define all the different haul roads related to costs. So here you can see that there's different waste sites, excuse me, waste sites and different quarries, as well as processing sites. So therefore you can define from that quarry down there, that material is gonna cost me, let's say, 30 euros per cubic meter. And then it's gonna cost me 10 cents per kilometer per cubic meter to move the material along that whole road. And what Business Center does is, it's telling you at the end what is the best haul route to move material from A to B in order to get your mass haul done, so you don't have an excess or that you miss material at the end. And it's giving a really nice report where to move material and also what machines to use. Or here you can see that there's a river that you cannot go through with the machines along the alignment. So you might need to consider another haul road that is going outside the river to overpass it if there's no bridge yet. So here you can also see the diagram, and at the end that it's balanced. So of course you need to work yourself a bit in, but that's really nice, because if you do one changes or see that one quarry is more expensive than the other one, it's updating the whole model, same as in utility. In real time, you can update it, and then you can get the best options for your mass haul optimization. And once you have this, if you're using or utilizing TLOS as well, there's a direct interface from Business Center into TLOS, so you can export that data and the quantities, and you have all the different tasks in TLOS, so you can start scheduling along your time distance diagram. Okay, transforming objects. It's also a big topic. For example, in Germany, we are converting from a local or Gauss-Krüger coordinate system into UTM, into the European reference network. And there's also really nice tools, for example, to transform objects by control points, and of course the whole geodetic calculations, COGO, etc., that you can do in Business Center. Another important application is graphics. So working with graphics is getting more and more important. We see new technology, mixed reality, to get a better understanding of the environment. And bland objects, designs. So you can georeference any picture or PDF. For example, what many people do is if they have a PDF or DXF file that you need to convert to 3D, you can then overlay that surface model with the PDF. And then if you look at this in 3D, you actually see the surface. You see the surface along with the PDF, and you can nicely see the break lines and if the 3D model really aligns with the PDF that you've digitized. So that's a really nice and cool tool to have those georeferencing of pictures and PDFs. Also surface textures. You've seen the 3D drive view from the project before that you can overlay. And also Google Earth, you can overlap it and export it into Google Earth. But a really nice thing that many of the customers here are utilizing is the 3D PDF. So often the job owner or the owner of the project, they don't have a CAD software or software where they can visualize it. Let's say in terms of billing, for example. You have a 3D model in your software, of course, but how can you show them what model you were using? And if you export a 3D PDF of a 3D surface or a 3D design, they can open that 3D PDF without having a CAD software, just in Adobe Reader, and they can do measurements in there. They can look at cross sections. They have a 3D view directly integrated in the PDF. So I think that is really something nice that you can export out of Business Center. Another thing is also the SketchUp integration. So we have a lot of users. They work with point clouds in Business Center. And for presentation purposes, they have to scan the point cloud from the original environment. They place the design into that. And they might also place some people or some cars or whatever from SketchUp into Business Center. So then you have a really nice 3D presentation that you can show to your customers or job owner, whatever you want to demo the project to. So one very important topic, of course, is also optimizing surfaces. And that's an example of a building pit. So you can see that there's a couple of building pits in a 3D view with a road in between. But what happens if you export those building pads, like you see here, to the machine? There will be an issue because the machine operator with 3D machine control, once he moves out of the design surface, so like just at the edge of the upper connection of the building pit, he will not see any values in the machine control system. So therefore, it's quite important to merge surfaces. So that's also a really nice tool of extending surfaces and merging surfaces so that the machine operator has one complete design surface. And as you can see in the cross section here, now everything is connected. So if the machine operator moves out of the building pit, the design, he will still see some values and knows, okay, I'm okay, I'm not lost, the machine control is still working, still getting values in the field. But the other thing is that is just a sign. So, but if you face the reality, you might have an original ground surface, as you can see in the left surface, which is well above the design surface or even below. So what we can do in Business Center, if the machine operator with the excavator, for example, is just supposed to dig the building pit, is he doesn't know where to start digging or where the point is that connects to the surface. Because it's not vertical, but we have a surface tie here. So what Business Center can do is you can create a surface tie out of the building pit. So you just connect to the original ground surface, and then you have the building pit really connected to the original ground. So it doesn't matter where the machine operator is, he will always get the point of where the building pit connects to the original ground. And the same with our surveying solutions, GPS, GNSS receivers, or total stations. There you can directly in the field software enter a tie or a connection to know where the point will be that the building or the slope will connect to your current position. Another example is here. For example, often you also get the task to do your own designs, right? So that's just a small retention lake that we have here. And everything you have is just basically the original ground, and you have a 3D line of the retention lake. And the rest has to be designed by you. So having the 3D line here is I've just created a surface. You can see that in the cross section, that is just a plain surface and a small cut fill map, but that's nothing you can work with yet. So what you would need to do is you can really quickly create a surface tie. So then that 3D line is connecting to your original ground surface. You can also see that in the 3D view. But the problem is now you just have the upper level of the retention lake and you want to do some editing and design. So you can construct actually the volume body of the lake by defining the ditch width here and the slope going down, back up. And that's very, very easy to do with the CAD tools in Business Center. So now you have the final volume body of the retention lake and the original ground. But as complained in the last example, or explained in the last example, we still need to merge those two surfaces together for the survey teams and machine control operators to just have one surface that they know they need to build to. So that's also one tool, merging surfaces. And then at the end, you have one merged surface that you can use for the field. So working with point clouds, we get a lot of positive feedback on point clouds. Business Center, that's also my personal experience, is really powerful with handling and rendering point clouds. So if you maneuver in 3D, even with very, very big point clouds, it's working very nice. And that's one example of a building pit here, that really big job sites. And there's a lot of objects. There's buildings around. You can see some people, some surveyors there doing measurements. There's some foundations in here that you also don't want to consider. There's buildings, there might be some cars, objects. And so after processing everything and having the point cloud available in Business Center, there's a really nice tool. It's an automatic object classification. So you can classify buildings, ground, vegetation, poles and signs, power lines, etc. And I figured out that this is really working nicely. Of course, you need to double check a couple of things, but for that project, it worked very well. So as you can see by different colors now, you can see the power lines here in yellow to the left. You can see the trees in green, as well as the objects here in blue, for example. So then you can filter that. You can just say, okay, you want to have the ground only. And you see that there's no more foundations, there's no more people inside, no more containers, etc. And having that, you can create a surface out of that and use it for your volume calculations. So that's a really nice tool for volumes. Billing and documentation, we have a drafting module. So if you want to make a nice as-built plan, it's really, really nice to do either manual dimensioning, or you can also do object-based dimensioning. So let's say if you have 500 buildings, you can all select them and create a table with the areas, with the length of the line forming that building, or elevations, or any other information. And that is then created automatically in Business Center. Also for the cross sections, you can create nice cross sections for corridors, or even for building pits. If you have a building pit and sometimes the job owner, they want to see cross sections with offset and elevations. And and that is helping to make a nice as-built plan, as-built documentation that you then export via PDF, via paper plan, or even online. So if you publish your project into Trimble Connect, for example, also Trimble Connect is providing a 3D viewer. So anybody that has access or you grant access to Trimble Connect can then have a look into your Business Center project online, which is, I think, a nice tool for billing and documentation. Last but not least, we have many applications for drilling and piling. So we have a machine control system that is navigating to the right points for drilling and piling. And in Business Center, you can actually calculate those drilling and piling plans, which is set on or based on a set of parameters. So whether it's the vector parameters or a grid for points with a certain slope for your drilling, or you can define different piles. Business Center will then create a design surface or original ground surface, and you can also do all the documentation. So if you go out, start drilling with the machine, you can record the start point, the end point, so you get planned versus actually drilled, and which is also helping a lot for the documentation. But that's a very special topic, drilling and piling. We could do a presentation, I guess, around an hour around this. But if there's questions, then just let us know and we can handle this topic in the next webinar. So that was just a couple of applications. We've seen a couple of questions coming in that we're gonna answer soon. We have Bauma next week in Munich. So if you want to visit us, Dan and myself, we will be there Monday to Sunday at our Trimble Bauma booth. We have our own software area showing the whole Trimble software solutions, whether it's vertical or civil projects, infrastructure projects. We have all the software. So if you want to meet, just send us an email and we can make an appointment together. Also, what I'd like to mention is this year we're going to have also our second Trimble Software User Conference in Copenhagen, end of November, where we also have buildings and infrastructure software solutions. So we are actually presenting the whole Trimble software ecosystem at that conference with sessions from users, sessions from the science companies, and sessions from Trimble. So if you want to learn more about software or how Scandinavia or Europe is utilizing building information modeling solutions and creating an environment around this, please come register. You can also Google this event and then sign up for updates, so at least you're informed about what's going on and the agenda. So having this, we can go to Q&A. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Yes.
Do you want me to share the PowerPoint, or I can just
questions? Yeah, you can share it if you have the questions in your PowerPoint.
Okay.